Midea Commercial Air Conditioner VRF Repair Guidelines. This video is only used to introduce the troubleshooting and repair process of Midea CAC V4 Plus VRF products. During the actual repair process, please consider the actual installation may differ according to different locations. This video contains 4 parts. Part 1. V4 plus VRF System Refrigerant Circulation Introduction. Part 2. Analyzing and troubleshooting the electronic function of the outdoor unit. Part 3. Analyzing and troubleshooting the electric function of the indoor unit. Part 4. Analyzing and troubleshooting the malfunction of the refrigerant system. Part 1. V4 Plus VRF System Refrigerant Circulation Introduction. 1. Cooling Circulation Introduction. After compression, the high pressure and temperature gaseous refrigerant is discharged from the compressor, then enters into the oil separator. Refrigerant in oil is divided by the oil separator, and the oil returns to the compressor via the oil return capillary pipe, which is connected at the bottom of the oil separator. At the same time, the surplus oil will be balanced to the other combined compressors by the oil balancing pipe. So we position the oil return orifice and oil balance orifice at the different levels at the separator bottom. The refrigerant is discharged from the top of the oil separator, then enters the 4-way valve. In cooling mode, the 4-way valve is in power off condition. The refrigerant goes through the 4-way valve and enters the outdoor condenser. In the condenser, the gaseous refrigerant changes to gas-liquid state by condensation, and from high temperature and pressure reduces to medium pressure and temperature. After condensation, the refrigerant reaches the outdoor electronic expansion valve. The electronic expansion valve adjusts the size of opening in order to control the refrigerant flow volume according to the discharged gas temperature and pressure of the compressor. After passing through the outdoor electronic expansion valve, the refrigerant enters the high-pressure accumulator. Due to gravity, the liquid-state refrigerant will be separated at the lower part, and gaseous refrigerant will be at the upper part. As the discharge pipe is placed at the bottom of the accumulator, it guarantees that the discharged refrigerant is in the liquid state. So, during maintenance, it should be clear which is the outlet pipe, which is the inlet pipe, to make sure that in cooling mode the refrigerant passes to the indoor side as in a liquid state. The refrigerant passes through the high-pressure accumulator and enters the connection liquid pipe between indoor unit and outdoor unit, then reaches the indoor side. Before entering the indoor evaporator, the refrigerant has to go through the indoor unit electronic expansion valve for throttle and pressure reduction. The size of the opening is adjusted according to the temperature measured by T2B sensor at the air outlet of indoor unit evaporator. The medium temperature and pressure liquid refrigerant becomes a gas liquid refrigerant with low temperature and pressure by throttle. After throttling, the gas liquid refrigerant enters the indoor unit evaporator, then absorbs heat and evaporates. When the refrigerant reaches the outlet, it should be in a gaseous state, ensuring the refrigerant can fully evaporate with the best cooling performance. The refrigerant passes through the indoor unit evaporator and enters the connection gas pipe, then returns to the outdoor side. Gaseous refrigerant passes through the 4-way valve of the outdoor unit and returns to the low-pressure accumulator. At this time, the liquid refrigerant, which is partially evaporated, or the surplus refrigerant, due to low-load operation, will be deposited at the bottom of the accumulator, while the gaseous refrigerant remains at the top. The location of the low-pressure accumulator discharge pipe is set at the top, which is in an opposite position compared to the high-pressure accumulator. This ensures the refrigerant absorbed by each compressor is in its gaseous state. Except for storage of the surplus liquid refrigerant, the low-pressure accumulator also stores lubricant oil, which is used in the circulation operation of the system. An orifice is positioned at the bottom of the accumulator to ensure oil returns to the compressors through capillary action in time. Gaseous refrigerant passes through the low-pressure accumulator and is absorbed by the compressor. Thus, a cooling circulation process is completed. During cooling operation, some solenoid valves are intentionally equipped to make sure the system operates under the optimum state. SV6. During the cooling operation, if discharged gas reaches 90 degrees Celsius or the pressure is higher than 3.5 megapascal, the SV6, which is in parallel with the outdoor EXV, will be powered on and opened to increase the refrigerant flow so that it can ensure efficient operation of the system. SV2. During the cooling or heating operation, if the compressor discharge temperature reaches 105 degrees Celsius, the SV2 connected with the outlet pipe of the high-pressure accumulator will be powered on. The low-temperature and pressure liquid refrigerant is formed through the capillary pipe and then injected into the main suction pipe to absorb heat and increase evaporation, which can cool down the compressor by reducing the suction temperature. SV4. During the cooling or heating operation, after the master unit has been operating for 20 minutes, the SV4 in the master unit will be open for 3 minutes. After 5 seconds, the SV4 valve in the slave unit 1 will be open for 3 minutes, and after another 5 seconds, the SV4 in the slave unit 2 will be open for 3 minutes, and the process repeats. This cycle repeats every 20 minutes. However, the SV4s in a powered-off slave unit remained closed. When the system is powered on or shut down, the SV4s also open 2 minutes to ensure that the compressor won't operate with insufficient oil during long-term running. SV1. During the cooling or heating operation, the corresponding SV1 will be open, and it will be closed when the unit stops. This function increases refrigerant flow and prevents any refrigerant from entering an outdoor unit in standby mode. Two, heating circulation introduction. After compression, the high-pressure or temperature gaseous refrigerant is discharged from the compressor, then enters into the oil separator. Refrigerant in oil is divided by the oil separator. Then, the oil returns to the compressor by the oil return capillary pipe, which is connected at the bottom of the oil separator. At the same time, the surplus oil will be balanced to the other combined compressors by the oil balancing pipe. So we position the oil return orifice and oil balance orifice at different level at the bottom of the oil separator. The refrigerant is discharged from the top of the oil separator, then enters the four-way valve. In heating mode, the four-way valve is power on. After passing through the four-way valve, the refrigerant enters the indoor side by the connecting gas pipe. The condensation function of the indoor unit converts the high temperature and high pressure gaseous refrigerant into gas liquid refrigerant at medium temperature and medium pressure. After condensation, the refrigerant reaches the indoor electronic expansion valve. The size of the valve opening is adjusted according to the temperature of the T2 sensor in the indoor unit, ensuring better heating performance by regulating the refrigerant flow. After passing through the indoor electronic expansion valve, the refrigerant enters the connecting liquid pipe, returns to the outdoor side, and enters the high-pressure accumulator in the outdoor unit. After the refrigerant passes from the high-pressure accumulator, it goes through the electronic expansion valve of the outdoor unit. The size of the opening is adjusted according to the temperature and pressure of discharged gas. The liquid refrigerant of medium temperature and medium pressure changes into gas-liquid refrigerant with low temperature and low pressure by throttling. Gas-liquid refrigerant enters the outdoor condenser and absorbs heat in the condenser. When the refrigerant reaches the outlet, it should be in a gaseous state, ensuring the refrigerant can fully evaporate with the best cooling performance. Gaseous refrigerant passes through the four-way valve of the outdoor unit and returns to the low-pressure accumulator. At this time, the liquid refrigerant, which is partially evaporated, or the surplus refrigerant, due to low load operation, will be deposited at the bottom of the accumulator while the gaseous refrigerant remains at the top. The location of the low-pressure accumulator discharge pipe is set at the top, which is in an opposite position compared to the high-pressure accumulator. This ensures that the refrigerant absorbed by each compressor is in the gaseous state. Except for storage of the surplus liquid refrigerant, the low-pressure accumulator also stores lubricant oil, which is used in the circulation operation of the system. An orifice is positioned at the bottom of the accumulator to ensure oil returns to the compressor through capillary action in time. Gaseous refrigerant passes through the low-pressure accumulator and is absorbed by the compressor. Thus, a heating circulation process is completed. During heating operation, the defrosting solenoid valve SV5 is intentionally equipped to make sure the system operates under the optimum state. SV5. During the heating operation, if the outdoor unit reaches defrosting condition, the four-way valve will be powered off. The system changes into cooling mode. At this time, the SV5, which is connected at the high-pressure accumulator outlet, will be powered on. Some refrigerant passes through the SV5 valve and enters into the low-pressure accumulator quickly. Thus, increase the refrigerant circulating speed to realize quick defrosting. Part 2. Analyzing and troubleshooting the electronic function of the outdoor unit. This section introduces the repair methods of VRF V4+ outdoor unit functions. It includes 15 parts. E0. Malfunction of transmission between outdoor units. E1. Reverse phase/open phase. E2. Malfunction of transmission between indoor units and outdoor units. H7. Improper indoor units quantity. E4. Malfunction of temperature sensor for outdoor air/condenser outlet. E9. Malfunction of power supply. H0, H1. Malfunction of transmission among the chips. H2, H3. Improper outdoor unit quantities. H8. Malfunction of high pressure sensor. P0. Top cover of compressor overheat protection. P4. Discharge gas high temperature protection. P1. Actuation of high pressure switch. P2. Actuation of low pressure switch. P5. Condenser outlet high temperature protection. P6. Module protection. P3. Compressor over current protection. P9. Outdoor fan module protection. E0. Malfunction of transmission between outdoor units. Only slave unit displays. When several outdoor units are in parallel connection, they need to be connected by the communication cable from the outdoor unit H1, H2, E-port, and address master unit 0, first slave unit 1, etc. When slave units display the E0 malfunction code, the reasons would be as follows. Cause of E0 malfunction. Communication cable is broken. Master unit is powered off. Master Unit PC board malfunction. Slave Unit PC board malfunction. Wires are not correctly configured as per instructions. Failure to use 3 core shielding cable. Repair instructions when E0 appears. Step 1. Check to ensure the outdoor unit's address set. Master unit address should be set as 0. 1 for slave unit 1. 2 for slave unit 2. 3 for slave unit 3. And it is invalid when the address is more than 3. If the setting has errors, power off the outdoor units and reset the address. If it is correct, proceed to next step. Step 2. Check the communication cable. All the H1, H2, E port of the outdoor units must be connected by the shielded cable, and the wires should not be reversed. H1 port of the master unit is connected with slave unit's H1 and H2 port is connected with H2 port. Use of the OHM range of multimeter to check the resistance between PQE of communication cable if it is in short circuit or open circuit. If short circuit happens, reconnect the outdoor unit communication cable. After the above repair, if malfunction still exists, the PC board of outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. E1. Reverse phase/open phase. Input terminals of the compressor are U, V, W. Corresponding power is A, B, C. Please make sure that the compressor can run normally and avoid the damage by reversal operation. When outdoor unit appears E1, normally it needs to change either phase of the power cable. After that, if problem still exists, it should be the reason of power supply, normally because of lacking power phase. Phase sequence checking is conducted only at the first power on. If wrong phase malfunction happens, it will disappear until the phase sequence is correct. Repair instructions when E1 appears. Step 1. Cut off the main power supply of the system. Change either phase of the power cable for the outdoor unit with malfunction. Then power on the system and check if problem still exists. If so, please go to next step. Use AC voltage range of multimeter to check if the power supply lacks phase. The power cable connection is loosened or not. If phase is lacked or unbalanced, you should check the power source to find the reason. After the above repair, if malfunction still exists, the PC board of outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. E2, H7 malfunction of transmission between indoor units and outdoor units. E2 malfunction of transmission between indoor units and outdoor units. H7 improper indoor units quantities. Appearances. Timer lamp flashes quickly. Indoor units quantity display from outdoor mainboard is unstable or decreasing. Poor cooling or heating performance of some indoor units. Causes of communication malfunction. 1. Address duplication of indoor units. 2. Address setting switch is not in the precise position. 3. Set the network address by mistake. 4. Signal wires are star connection. 5. Failure to use 3-core shielding cable. 6. Signal wires are too long. 7. Interference. 8. PQE is short circuit. Repair instructions when E2H7 appears. Step 1. Use the OHM range of multimeter to check the resistance between PQE of communication cable if it is in short. Use the OHM range of multimeter to check the resistance between PQE of communication cable if it is in short circuit. Check the communication cable if it is broken by short circuit 1, ends of the PQE cable. If the communication cable is short circuit or broken, replace the communication cable. If it is normal, go to the next step. 1. Check if the communication cables among indoor units are in series connection. If not, change to series connection. 2. Check if addresses of indoor units are repeated. Continue pushing the query bottom on the remote receiver for 5 seconds, one by one. The indoor unit will display the address, and the ones with LED can display address number. The ones without LED can be calculated according to the lighted lamps. The address code table is as followed. Check if the addresses of the indoor units in the same system are repeated. If so, please adjust the repeat address. 3. Check if the indoor units of the same system are connected to the same power supply. If some indoor units have separate power supply, check if they are in power off condition and switch on the power supply for them. The power supply of the system must be modified later. The indoor units which have separate power supply should be changed to have the same power supply as the other indoor units in this system. 4. Check if the communication cable is separated with a strong current cable. If not, it is required that the weak current cable should be 30 centimeters away from strong current cable to avoid electromagnetic interference. If any of the above problems exist, it must be modified. Then the malfunction can be solved. If not, please go to next step. Step 5. Check if the communication cable is longer than 1,500 meters. If so, signal should be adjusted or enhanced. After the above repairing, if malfunction still exists, the PC board of outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. E4. Malfunction of temperature sensor for ambient temperature/condenser outlet. Malfunction of temperature sensor T4 for outdoor air and T3 for condenser outlet. There are two causes. 1. T4 or T3 is loose connection. 2. Sensor is broken, such as connecting cable is broken or sensoring bulb is damaged. Repair instructions when E4 appears. Step 1. Check the connection cable of the outdoor ambient temperature sensor and condenser outlet pipe sensor if it is reliable and correct. If the connector is correct, go to next step. Step 2. Replace the temperature sensor by the resistor of 10K per 0.25 watts. If the malfunction disappears, please replace a new sensor. Otherwise, the PC board of the outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. E9. Malfunction of power supply. Repair instructions when E9 appears. Step 1. Use AC voltage range of the multimeter to check voltage of power supply if it is in the range of 380 volts plus or minus 2%. If the voltage of power supply, if not, is stable, the stable power supply should be provided. If it is normal, go to the next step. Step 2. Use DC voltage range of multimeter to check the voltage between P and N if inverter module if it is about 540 volts. Confirm the inverter circuit is normal or not. If it is abnormal, replace a new inverter module or repair the defective component. After the above repairing, if malfunction still exists, the PC board of outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. H0, H1, malfunction of transmission among the chips. H0, malfunction of transmission between the chip IR341 and chip 780034. H1, malfunction of transmission between chip 0537 and chip 780034. The solution is to replace a new PC board. But in some cases, the reason is the +5 voltage power supply is lower than normal, which is caused by the sensor cable is short circuit to the ground. Causes are open phase of power supply, main chip, or EPROM is not well installed. Transformer is loose connection. Repair instructions when H0, H1 appears. Step 1. Use AC voltage range of the multimeter to check voltage of power supply. If it is in the range of 380 volts plus or minus 2%. Checking if the power supply is lacked of phase or phase unbalanced. If the power supply is abnormal, please repair the power supply. If it is normal, please go to next step. Use AC voltage range of multimeter to check if the output of transformer is about 10 volts and 16 volts. If it is abnormal, please reset the power of the system to see if the malfunction disappears or not. If the malfunction still exists, the PC board of outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. H2, H3, improper outdoor unit quantities. Only master unit display. When there are several outdoor units in parallel connection, if some slave units cannot return normally because of powered off, PC board broken, or the poor communication between master and slave units, then it possible appears the improper outdoor unit quantities malfunction. Repair instructions when H2, H3 appears. Step 1. Check if the terminals of H1, H2, E-communication cable among outdoor units are loosened or not. If loosened, please rewiring the cable reliably. If it is normal, please go to next step. Step 2. Check if some outdoor units are instantaneous powered off when there are many modules in parallel connection. In this case, the malfunction can be solved as long as the power supply resumes, but the root cause why the power is off should be found out. After the above repairing, if the malfunction still exists, the PC board of outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. H8, malfunction of high pressure sensor. When the system is running, if the discharge gas pressure is lower than 0.3 MPa, discharge pressure sensor malfunction will happen. Two kinds of reasons. 1. The sensor cable is broken or the connection is loosened. 2. Sensor is broken, such as connecting cable is broken or induction plate is damaged. Repair instructions when H8 appears. Step 1. Check if the connection of the discharge pressure sensor is correct and reliable. If it is okay, please go to the next step. Step 2. Use pressure gauge to check the pressure of high pressure shutoff valve. If the pressure is higher than 0.3 megapascal, it means the pressure sensor is broken. You have to replace a new one. The pressure sensor is okay if the pressure is lower than 0.3 megapascal. If the malfunction still exists, the PC board of outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. P0. Top cover of compressor overheat protection. P4. Discharge gas high temperature protection. When P0 or P4 appears 3 times in 100 minutes, system will be locked and shows H6 code. Only reset the power supply can relieve the malfunction. In this case, you should check the system to prevent more damage as soon as possible. When P0 or P4 appears, there are 4 kinds of reasons. One, system lacks of refrigerant. The temperature on the top of compressor shell and discharged gas is too high. The suction pipe may be frost. Pressure of discharged and suction gas is too low, and current is too small. In this case, charging more refrigerant can solve the malfunction. 2. Filter of compressor suction pipes is dirty and jammed. The temperature on the top of compressor shell is very high. P0 or P4 appears. But discharge temperature is not high. Other compressors' shell temperature is very low. That is because the defect compressor cannot absorb the refrigerant, and too much refrigerant is sucked by other compressors. Solution. Welding off the suction pipe with malfunction and clean the dust on the filter of it. Three. The filter of main suction pipe of outdoor unit is jammed. The temperature on the top of compressor shell is too high, but the discharge gas has no temperature and pressure, leading to the 4-way valve cannot change the direction in heating mode. The pressure of gas and liquid pipe is nearly the same. Behind the filter, the main suction pipe is absolutely frosted. Solution. If it is jammed by dust, please clean the filter of main suction pipe. If it is jammed by ice, it needs to install the dry filter to clear the water in the system. 4. Suction pipe of the compressor is jammed by ice. The temperature of the top of the compressor shell is very high. P4 protection appears, but discharge temperature is not high. Other compressors' shell temperature is very low. After restart the system, water may go to the other suction pipe filter, and P0 or P4 happens again. Solution. If the ice jam is not serious, water in the system can be cleared by dry filter. If the ice jam is not serious, water in the system can be cleared by dry filter. If the ice jam is serious and too much water in the system, it is very difficult to clear all the water. Change the refrigerant and oil mixed with water and use dry nitrogen to clean the system is the only way to remove the water absolutely. Repair instructions when P0 or P4 exists. Step 1. Check if the connection cable of discharge temperature sensor is correct and reliable. If the connection cable is normal, go to the next step. If P0 or P4 happens when the system is in standby mode, the sensor resistance should be incorrect and need to be changed. If P0 or P4 appears when the system is running, please use the temperature meter. Check the temperature around the sensor. If it reached the protection valve of 120 degrees Celsius. If the actual temperature is in normal range, the sensor resistance should be incorrect, or the main board is damaged. Check the sensor first. If the malfunction still exists, PC board should be changed. Step 2. Use pressure gauge to check the system pressure in standby mode and during operation. Use pressure gauge to check the system pressure in standby mode and during operation. Compare with other normal system nearby to judge if the system additional refrigerant is insufficient or existing leakage. If refrigerant is insufficient, please recharge more refrigerant and find out the reasons why refrigerant is not enough. If it is normal, please go to next step. Step 2. Check if the heat transfer or heat exchange in low pressure side is bad. If heat exchanger or filter becomes dirty, fan stops, or air volume is insufficient, and so on. It can make outdoor unit worse heat transfer, and the working condition is terrible, result in the compressor temperature increase fast. If it is the problem, please wash the heat exchanger and filter, and maintenance outdoor unit duct. If it is normal, please go to the next step. Step 4. Check if the pipes of low pressure side is jammed or deformed. The phenomenon is that temperature of discharge in suction gas is too high. Suction pressure is too low, current is low, and the suction pipe may be frosted. If the pipe is jammed, check the filter at the compressor suction pipe. If the filter is jammed, discharge all the refrigerant in the system and wash the filter. If it is ice jam, install a dry filter. If it is normal, please go to next step. Step 5. Use refrigerant pressure gauge to check if there is air or nitrogen in the system. If there is air or nitrogen, temperature and pressure of discharge in suction gas will be high. Current will be large, and the pointer of pressure gauge will be shaken. In this case, please discharge all refrigerant in the system and vacuum again. Change the refrigerant after it has reached vacuum requirement. If refrigeration oil goes out during the process, please recharge suitable volume of refrigeration oil. P1. Actuation of high pressure switch. The actuation of high pressure switch is that when the system pressure is more than 4.4 megapascal, the switch will open. P1 code appears. When the pressure decreases to 3.2 megapascal, it will resume. Repair instructions when P1 appears. Step 1. Check if the connection cable of high pressure switch is correct and reliable. If it is normal, use the OHM range of multimeter to check the resistance. If it is open or infinite, that means the sensor is broken. Short circuit the high pressure switch. If the malfunction disappears, that means the pressure switch is damaged and you can replace it. If malfunction still exists, the PC board of outdoor unit should be broken. You have to replace a new one. If protection happens during operation, please go to next step. Step 2. Measure the system pressure and compare with the normal system nearby to judge if the system has been charged too much refrigerant. The phenomenon when system has been charged too much refrigerant. The high and low pressure will be too high and discharge temperature will be too low in operating system. If there is such situation, please discharge some refrigerant, but new system is forbidden to discharge refrigerant. If it is normal, please go to next step. Step 3. Check if the outdoor unit is not well heat transfer. For example, heat exchanger is dirty, air inlet is short circuit to the outlet, outdoor fan doesn't work, or wind speed is too low, the air outlet and inlet of heat exchanger is blocked, The distance among the outdoor units is too short. Check it one by one and wash the heat exchanger and filter. If it is normal, please go to the next step. Step 4. Check if the liquid side pipes are jammed. For example, pipe is deformed, valve is jammed, or the shutoff valve is not open, and so on. Check it one by one. If it is normal, please go to the next step. Step 5. Check if the system contains air or nitrogen. The phenomenon is as followed. When it is running, pressure and temperature of discharge in suction gas will be too high. Current will be too large. Compressor has abnormal noise, and the pointer of pressure gauge will be shaken. If there is such situation, please discharge all the refrigerant of the system and vacuum again. Recharge the refrigerant after it has reached vacuum requirement. If refrigeration oil goes out during the process, you should recharge suitable volume of refrigeration oil. P2. Actuation of low pressure switch. The actuation of low pressure switch is that the system pressure is lower than 0.05 megapascal, and P2 code will appear. When the pressure increases to 0.15 megapascal, it will resume. When the system is running, if low pressure protection P2 happens 3 times in 30 minutes, system will be locked and display H5 malfunction code. Only after restart the unit it can be solved. At this moment, you should check and repair the system. Find out the reason to avoid further damage of the system. Repair instructions when P2 appears. Step 1. Check if the connection cable of low pressure switch is correct and reliable. If it is normal, use the OHM range of multimeter to check the resistance. If it is open or infinite, that means the pressure switch is broken. Or, when the system stops, short-circuit the high-pressure switch. If the malfunction disappears, that means the pressure switch is broken and you should replace it. If malfunction still exists, the PC board should be broken. You have to replace a new one. If protection happens during operation, please repair as followed. Step 2. Measure the system pressure and compare with the pressure of normal system nearby to judge if the system pressure is too low or not. If the pressure is too low, check if the refrigerant is enough. Make sure the additional refrigerant is charged correctly and there is no leakage in the system. If it is normal, please go to the next step. Step 3. Check if the gas side pipes are jammed. For example, pipe is deformed, electric expansion valve is jammed, the low pressure ball valve is not open or filter is jammed, and so on. If above problem exists, the discharge gas and suction gas temperature will be too high, low pressure and current will be too low, and suction pipe may be frosted. For such situation, please clear the dust, wash the filter, or change the valve. If the system is jammed by ice, we have to dry the whole system. If it is normal, please go to next step. Step 4. Check if the indoor unit heat exchange bad. For example, the heat exchanger or filter becomes dirty, resistance of air outlet is too big, indoor fan doesn't run, or fan speed is too low, and so on. These will cause the low pressure side frosted or frozen. The suction pressure is lower and lower until the low pressure switch acts. If it exists, please check and exclude the malfunction. P5. Condenser outlet high temperature protection. Repair instructions when P5 appears. Step 1. Check if cable connection of condenser outlet temperature sensor is reliable. If it is normal and protection happens when system is in standby mode, the sensors should be broken. You can change it. If protection P5 happens during running, please use the temperature meter to check actual temperature of condenser outlet to confirm if it reached the protection value 65 degrees Celsius. If the actual temperature is in the normal range, it should be the problem of the sensor or main PC board. Please change the sensor at first. If malfunction still exists, you can change a new PC board. If there is no above problems, please repair as followed. Step 2. Check if the system running load is too big. For example, cooling in high ambient temperature or cooling with high evaporate temperature, which is because of indoor capacity, is overmatching. If there is such kind of condition, you can only turn off some indoor units to decrease the running load or add some outdoor units. If not, please go to the next step. Step 3. Check if the outdoor heat exchanger is well heat exchanged or not. For example, heat exchanger becomes dirty, air outlet and inlet is short circuit, outdoor fan motor doesn't run, or fan speed is too low, the air outlet and inlet of heat exchanger is blocked, the distance between outdoor units are too short, and so on. If it exists, please check and exclude the malfunction one by one. If not, please go to next step. Step 4. Check if system is mixed with air or nitrogen. The air has become vacuum, is not well done, and nitrogen is because pressure test is directly done to the bow valve. Check if system is mixed with air or nitrogen. The air is because vacuum is not well done, and nitrogen is because pressure test is directly done to the ball valve. If system is mixed with air or nitrogen, the phenomenon is that high pressure and low pressure will be too high. Current will be too big, compressor has abnormal noise, and the pointer of pressure gauge will be shaken. If there is such phenomenon, please discharge all the refrigerant of the system and vacuum again. Recharge the refrigerant after the whole system reached vacuum requirement. During the process, if refrigeration oil goes out, you should charge suitable volume of refrigeration oil. P6. Inverter module protection. After 1 minute, since P6 protection happens to the electronic control system, you can use Query button to check the detailed malfunction code. If P6 protection happens 3 times in 30 minutes, system will be locked and display malfunction H4. Only after reset the power supply, it can be solved. In this situation, you should check and solve the malfunction in time to avoid serious damage to the system. When module protection P6 happens, do not change the inverter compressor or electric control parts before you check as follow. If there is normal outdoor Unit B besides the defect Unit A, and Unit B is the same series with Unit A, we can connect the inverter compressor of Unit A to the electronic control of Unit B to see if it can start to run normally. If the outdoor Unit A can run normally now, it means the inverter compressor of outdoor Unit A has no problem. But the electronic control probably has malfunction. Now, you need to check the electronic control of outdoor Unit A to see if the inverter module needs to be changed or not. If the outdoor Unit A cannot start normally, that means the compressor has malfunction and needs to be changed. If there is no other outdoor unit of the same series near the defect outdoor unit, you need to check and repair as followed before changing the compressor. Step 1. After 1 minute since protection P6 happens, please press the Query button. Malfunction code P6 includes L0, L1, L2, L4, L5, L7, L8, and L9. Then, check and repair according to solution of P6 malfunction. Step 2. Check the connection of the DC current wire. Make sure that the direction of the DC current be the same as the arrow marked in the inductor. Step 3. Make sure the electric safety of the compressor to avoid danger. 1. Measure the resistance between U, V, W terminals of the compressor. The resistance should be equal in between 0.9 to 5 OHM. Measure the resistance between each of the three terminals, U, V, W, and the ground to make sure it is in the mega OHM range. If it has only several OHM resistance, that means compressor has not been short circuit and damaged. Do not connect the electrical control and change the compressor directly. If it is normal, please go to next step. Check the DC voltage between input of lightning strike protection board to the inverter module PN to see if it is about 310 volts, which is equal to 1.41 times of local input voltage. If it is abnormal, the voltage of power supply is abnormal or lightning strike protection board is damaged. Measure if output DC voltage of electrolytic capacitor is between 510 and 580 volts. If it is abnormal, please check if the components such as electrolytic capacitor, bridge, rectifier, contactor, and so on are normal. After 5 minutes since cut off the power supply of the unit, use the diode range of the multimeter to measure the conduction voltage between P and N of inverter module, and the conduction voltage between P or N and U, V, W. The conduction voltage between P and N should be 0.7 volts, and the conduction voltage between P or N and U, V, W should be 0.35 volts. If the measured value is 0 or infinite, that means module has been damaged and needs to be replaced. Please notice the position of multimeter black and red pen while measuring. Step 5. Check the heat exchange condition of the unit. Bad heat exchange will lead to high temperature inside of the electronic control box, which can lead to DC module protect. If the bad heat exchange exists, you must improve the heat exchange condition and find the way to guarantee that the DC module can work in the normal temperature range. For example, wipe the thermal silicone grease well. You need to find the way to guarantee that module can work in the normal temperature range and wipe the thermal silicone grease well. After the above repairing, if the malfunction cannot be solved, the PC board should be broken. You have to replace a new one. E3. Compressor over current protection. Only after 2 seconds since compressor starts, system start current detection. Protection exists when compressor current is higher than setting value. Repair instructions when P3 appears. Step 1. Check if the compressor has malfunction, short circuit, happens to the strong power or terminals of strong power is not tight. Use the OHM range of multimeter to measure resistance among the three terminals. Normally, resistance between either of three terminals should be 0.9 to 5 OHM, and resistance between terminals and ground should be infinite. If the resistance is abnormal, please change the compressor. Step 2. Check if the system load is too big. For example, system is running in cooling mode under high ambient temperature or overmatching of indoor side lead to high evaporation temperature. If so, you can only turn off some indoor units to decrease the running load or add some outdoor units. If it is normal, please go to next step. Step 3. Check if the pipes of liquid side is jammed. For example, pipe is deformed, valve is jammed, or cutoff valve is not opened, and so on. If there is above problems, please check the system and exclude the problems. If it doesn't exist, please go to next step. Step 4. Use the refrigerant pressure gauge to measure the standby pressure and running pressure of the system. Compare with the other normal machines right there to judge if too much additional refrigerant has been charged to the system. Check if there is air or nitrogen mixed in the system. In this case, high and low pressure will be too high. Temperature of discharge and suction gas will be too high. Current will be too big. Compressor maybe has abnormal noise, and the pointer of pressure gauge will be shaken. If above problems exist, please discharge all the system refrigerant and vacuum the system. Recharge the refrigerant when vacuum rate is reached. If some refrigerant oil goes out during the above process, please add the right amount oil. P9. Outdoor fan module protection. Please note the connectors of 2 DC motor. If they are loosened or unconnected malfunction, P9 will exist, and the two DC motors are identified left and right. The connection cannot be reversed. Repair instructions when P9 appears. Step 1. Check the cable connector of DC motor power supply, feedback line or signal wire from main PC board to the fan module. If it is badly connected or loosened. If it is normal, please go to the next step. Step 2. Check if the heat exchange of module is bad or the high temperature inside electric control box lead to module protection. Please make sure the module can work in normal temperature range. If it is normal, please go to the next step. Step 3. Check if the fan is blocked or with malfunction. Please change the fan if it is blocked or abnormal rotation. If normal, please go to next step. Step 4. Check the input power supply module of fan module by multimeter. Make sure the output DC voltage is about 310 volts. If it is abnormal, please change the input power supply module. If it is normal, please go to the next step. Step 5. Check if the fan module itself has malfunction. You may use the module from the same series outdoor unit to test. If the malfunction is disappear, please change the inverter module. During all the above repairing process, if outdoor PC board needs to be replaced, please confirm whether chips of the board has malfunction. Pins of the chip falls off, plug the chips in the reverse direction. The correct installation of the chip should be according to the direction of half round. If it is wrong, please install the chip again or install the same model chip to the malfunction unit in order to check if the chip has malfunction. If there are no above problems, you may change the outdoor unit main board. After changing to new main board, its capacity code, address code must be the same with before. Part 3. Analyzing and troubleshooting the electronic function of the indoor unit. The status of 4 LED lamps of indoor units are the key factor of judgment of indoor units malfunction. Explanation of 4 LED lamps display. LED lamps flash slowly when power is on. LED lamps are all off when indoor units in standby mode. Operation LED lamp is on when unit starts running. Defrost lamp is on when unit is in anti-cold air or defrosting mode. Timer lamp is on when timer function is on. Checking sequence for new V4 Plus indoor units. System address, capacity, network address, setting temperature, indoor ambient temperature, T1B-T2/T2B-malfunction code. The display priority of malfunction code E1, E2, E3, E4, EE, E7, E0, ED. The malfunction code doesn't display when there is no malfunction. Below is malfunction code table of different indoor units. In this section, we will take 4-way cassette indoor units as example and show you how to repair by 6 parts. 1. E2, E3, E4, malfunctions of indoor temperature sensor, evaporator middle temperature sensor, and evaporator outlet temperature sensor. 2. E1, malfunction of transmission between indoor units and outdoor units. 3. E7, EEPROM, defect of indoor PC board. 4. E0, malfunction of mode conflict. 5. EE, drain level above limit. 6. ED, outdoor unit fault. E2, E3, E4, malfunction of temperature sensor for indoor units. Repair instructions when E2, E3, E4 appears. Step 1. Check if the cable connection of indoor temperature sensor is correct and reliable. If the connector is normal, please go to next step. Step 2. Replace the temperature sensor by the 10K per 0.25 watts. Then check if the malfunction disappears or not. If the malfunction disappears, please change corresponding indoor temperature sensor. Otherwise, replace the indoor PC board. 2. E1 malfunction of transmission between indoor units and outdoor units. Repair instructions when E1 appears. Step 1. Use the OHM range of multimeter to check the resistance between PQE to see if it is short circuit, or short connect PQE on the other side, and use OHM range of multimeter to check if it is closed, to confirm if the communication cable is broken or not. If short circuit or open circuit happened, please check the communication cable carefully. If the above malfunction doesn't exist, please go to next step. Step 2. Check if all the indoor units in the same system have E1 malfunction. If so, the malfunction should be caused by the communication cable between indoor units and outdoor units. Check the cable between indoor units and outdoor units to see if it is loosened or broken. If only one indoor unit has E1 malfunction, electric control cable and connection socket should be checked to see if it is loosened. If it is normal, replace the indoor PC board. 3. E7 EEPROM defect of indoor PC board. Repair instructions when E7 appears. Check if the electric control wiring is reliable or there is strong interference around indoor units. If so, try to keep away from the interference. If not, you may change the indoor main control board. 4. E0 malfunction of mode conflict. Repair instructions when E0 appears. If mode conflict malfunction E0 exists, that means in the same system some indoor units are running in cooling mode and other indoor units are in heating mode at the same time. The malfunction can be solved if change one running mode to the other mode, which other indoor units are running in. We can use outdoor mode lock function to lock the indoor unit running mode. That will help the customers operate more convenient. 5. EE drain level above limit. Repair instructions when EE appears. Step 1. Check the cable connection of water level switch to see if it is reliable and correct. If it is normal, go to next step. Step 2. Check if the floating ball of water level switch is stuck by the dust. Cleaning the dust in the drainage pan and take off the water level switch. Connect it to the main board of other indoor unit and controlling the floating ball manually. If the malfunction exists, it means the switch is broken. If the malfunction disappears, it means the switch is normal. If the water level switch is normal, please go to next step. Step 3. In the cooling operation condition, check if the drainage pump is running normally. Use the multimeter to check the power input voltage and resistance of drainage pump. If the power input voltage is normal and the resistance is infinite, that means the pump is damaged. If the voltage is abnormal, please check the voltage of power supply. You may change the main board if the power supply voltage is normal. 6. ED outdoor unit fault. Repair instructions when ED appears. When indoor units display outdoor unit has malfunction, all the indoor units in the system will have the same display. If one indoor unit has such malfunction, after confirming the wiring is reliable, you may change the indoor main board. If malfunction happens to all the indoor units in the same system, please repair according to the outdoor unit malfunction. During the above repairing process, before changing indoor main board, please confirm if chip of main board has problem, or the pins of chip is fallen off. Chip is installed in the opposite direction. The correct installation should be according to the direction of half round. If it is wrong, please install the chip again, or replace the chip of malfunction unit by the same modal chip in order to confirm if the chip has malfunction. If the above problems do not exist, please change the indoor main board. When changing new main board, the capacity code and address code must be the same with main board with malfunction. Part 4. Analyzing and troubleshooting the malfunction of the refrigerant system. Refrigerant system malfunction is a complicated problem. It needs handle according to the malfunction phenomenon during the repairing process. In this section, it will introduce by 10 parts. Indoor unit is leakage of water. Bad cooling or heating performance of indoor units. Refrigeration system is mixed with water. Suction pipe is frosted. The method of changing the additional refrigerant oil to the outdoor unit. The four-way valve cannot change directions or has inner leakage. Electronic expansion valve malfunction. Reasons of system power switch jumps. How to change the refrigerant oil when changing the compressor. Reasons of outdoor units don't start after indoor unit has received on signal for a long time. Indoor unit is leakage of water. Check where it is water leakage from, normally if it is condensing water or coagulation water. Condensate water normally deposits at indoor air outlet and panel. Condensing water is normally caused by the malfunction of drainage pump, loosening or wrong installation of condensing water pipe. Repair instructions of water leakage. Step 1. If indoor unit has drainage pump and drainage pan has water leakage, please check if the drainage pump is running normally. Use the multimeter to check the input voltage and resistance of water pump. If input voltage is normal, water pump resistance is open or infinite. That means water pump is damaged and need to be changed. If the voltage is abnormal, please check the power supply voltage. If the power supply voltage is normal, you can change the main board. At the same time, please check if the floating ball of water level switch is stuck by the dust. Cleaning the dust in the drainage pan and take off the water level switch. Connecting it to the main board of other indoor unit and controlling the floating ball manually. If the water level alarm exists, it must be the switch is broken. If the water level alarm disappears, it means the switch is normal. Please go to next step. Step 2. If the water drop from panel or air outlet, please check if the air outlet is blocked. Air volume is small, indoor humidity is too big, fan stops, indoor unit doesn't run, or the water leakage is from the indoor unit which is not powered on. If a bulb problem exists, please repair it one by one. If it is normal, please go to next step. Step 3. Inspect if the drainage pipe installation has problem. Check if the level and consessment of condensing water pipe is out of standard range or not. If draining pipe is jammed, that the condensing water cannot be discharged. If the lean degree is bigger than 1%, or if the pipe connector and throttle part is well heat insulated. Check if the main condensing water pipe has vent or not. The main discharged water pipe is jammed or not, cause the condensing water cannot be discharged. If there are above questions, it can lead to the water leakage of indoor unit. Please modify it according to the requirement of technical manual. Bad cooling or heating performance of indoor units. The system piping is too long, height difference between indoor and outdoor units is too big, indoor units are overmatching because of the design, all can lead to bad performance, especially the farthest indoor units. The other reasons that lead to poor cooling or heating performance. 1. Refrigerant is not enough. Use pressure gauge to check the system pressure in standby mode and operation mode. Compare with system pressure or other normal system right there. Inspect the record table of additional refrigerant charge. Then judge if the system additional refrigerant is too little or system has leakage. If the system has not enough refrigerant, please charge additional refrigerant to the system and find out the root cause why refrigerant is not enough. 2. The outdoor unit maybe has malfunction or protection. Some bypass valve is damaged or got stuck, and so on. It can cause that system refrigerant circular volume decrease. Outdoor unit air return is short circuit, or the installation environment is not good for heat exchange. Outdoor fan air volume is small. These can make the working condition very bad and running performance bad. You should check the components of outdoor unit and judge if their action is normal when system is running. 3. Because some indoor electronic expansion valve has malfunction, or the indoor units are not with the same power supply, and some indoor units are power off. Then the refrigerant go through the indoor units which are powered off, or electronic expansion valve got stuck. It affects the system running performance. 4. Because the indoor unit has no air return duct leaks wind, air duct is too long, the air resistance is too big, and so on. These can cause the indoor load becomes bigger and performance becomes bad. Because the indoor unit's address code are repeated or incorrect, it causes that capacity output of outdoor unit is not matched with required load of indoor units, or the capacity output of outdoor unit fluctuates and affect the stability and running performance of the system. Because the improper pipe diameter, electronic expansion valve, or branch joint is used, it causes the bigger flow resistance and unbalanced refrigerant flow among indoor units, and shorter lifespan of the products. Any of above points exist can cause system bad operation performance. You must absolutely modify the mistake. Refrigeration system is mixed with water. If system has lots of water, the water can be dissolved to the refrigerant oil. Please take out all the oil in the compressor, high and low pressure tank, then vacuum repeatedly and clean with nitrogen. Carbon tetrachloride can have chemical reaction with refrigerant oil, water, and copper under high temperature and pressure condition, so carbon tetrachloride is forbidden to be used to flush system. Repair instructions when system is mixed with water. First condition. If the ice jam exists in the low pressure side, it is very possible that ice jam exists in the filter of the suction pipe, capillary, or places with small diameter. The phenomenon is that the temperature of the compressor top is too high. Temperature and pressure of discharged gas is low. In heating mode, it cannot push the four-way valve change the direction. High and low pressure of cutoff valve is similar. Suction pipe is frosted, and so on. Solution. You should discharge all the refrigerant in the system. Vacuum the system long time at first and clean the system by nitrogen. Then vacuum the system long time and clean the system by nitrogen again. Repeat above process several times. You can change all the refrigerant oil if necessary and install the dry filter to make system refrigerant dry. Second condition. Water has entered into the compressor and had chemical reaction with rotor and coil under high temperature and pressure. It causes the copper plating phenomenon and makes the refrigerant oil become acid. There may be abnormal noise when compressor is running. Solution. Measure the terminal resistance of 3 phase of the compressor. Normally either of 2 terminals the resistance is 0.9 to 5 OHM. The resistance between terminal and ground should be more than mega OHM. That means compressor is normal. If the resistance is abnormal, please change the compressor. At the same time, you should discharge all the refrigerant in the system. Vacuum the system long time at first and clean the system by nitrogen. Then vacuum the system long time and clean the system by nitrogen again. Repeat above process several times. You can change all the refrigerant oil if necessary and install the dry filter to make system refrigerant dry. Suction pipe is frosted. If the suction pipe has little frost when it is in low ambient temperature cooling mode and low ambient temperature heating mode, it is normal. If it has much frost under normal working condition, it needs to check and repair the system. Repair instructions of suction pipe frosting. Step 1. Check if the filter of low pressure side or indoor electronic expansion valve is jammed. Check if indoor evaporator or filter becomes dirty and cause heat exchange badly. Whether the indoor fan motor has malfunction or the resistance of air duct is too big, which cause air volume smaller than normal. Use the refrigerant pressure gauge to check the low pressure. If the pressure is too low, the above situation can exist. If so, please clear the malfunction according to the actual situation. If not, please go to next step. Step 2. Check if all the indoor units in the same system are in the same power supply. If there are any indoor units without power and its electronic expansion valve keeps certain opening degree. In this case, much liquid refrigerant go through the electronic expansion valve of indoor unit without power, and the refrigerant doesn't evaporate and absorb heat from indoor side. So, the refrigerant goes back to the suction pipe of outdoor unit in the same power supply. If there are problems as above, we must modify the power supply of indoor units from separate type to unified type. Step 3. Because the system has been charged too much additional refrigerant, when system is running in cooling mode under low ambient temperature, there are much refrigerant in the indoor units that doesn't absolutely evaporate, and it enters the suction pipe in lower temperature and liquid state. If it exists, discharge some refrigerant. Normally, the R410A refrigerant is forbidden discharging. The method of charging the additional refrigerant oil to the outdoor unit. When charging the refrigerant oil to the system in sight, the normal procedure is that recycle the system refrigerant to the outdoor unit at first, then vacuum the indoor pipe system and use vacuum degree to suck the oil into the system. Finally, vacuum the system again and charge the refrigerant, then start the system. The other method, close the high-pressure cutoff valve. Then charge the refrigerant oil from low-pressure ball valve by using compressor suction. Because there is air mixed in the refrigerant oil, in this case, some air will be absorbed to the system, so this method is not recommended. If you want to charge the refrigerant oil to the running system, you can try this kind of small device. Using small refrigerant tank, low pressure tank, oil separator, or other tank, you can make the small device like diagram 1 and connect the gauge connector to the up and down place. You may use Phi 16 or Phi 19 diameter pipe to connect the cutoff valve A. Open the cutoff valve A and charge the refrigerant oil as diagram 2. Vacuum from gauge connector B to take out the air in the tank and refrigerant oil. Connect the gauge connector C to low pressure ball valve and gauge connector B to the refrigerant tank. Then charge the refrigerant oil to the running system by the pressure of the refrigerant in the tank. The four-way valve cannot change the directions or has inner leakage. The repairing methods of four-way valve malfunction. When the four-way valve cannot change the direction or has inner leakage, the phenomenon is that there is no sound when changing the direction. Cooling or heating performance is bad. The middle pipe of downside of the valve has higher temperature. High pressure is low and low pressure is high. The normal reason is that there is impurity, such as welding slag in the system, and the impurity blocks the valve or slide. In this case, it needs to power on and off the four-way valve frequently and hit the four-way valve several times by rubber objects when system is running, so that the slide block can be moved by the refrigerant's momentum. If the malfunction cannot be solved, you can only replace the four-way valve and check if there is impurity on the filter of the suction pipe. Electronic expansion valve malfunction. Normally, when electronic expansion valve malfunction happens, the cooling or heating performance will be bad, or if the indoor unit is in standby mode, the panel, casing, electronic control box has the condensing water. Repair instructions of electronic expansion valve malfunction. First situation. If the electronic expansion valve cannot be opened or well closed, the valve has no sound of action or the sound is smaller. Causes. Cable of the drive coil is not connected or badly connected, or electric control board has malfunction. Coil is not well installed on the valve and lead to bad control. Second situation. If the sound of valve action is normal and installation is not loosened. Causes. Main reason is that system has lots of oxide and welding slag, and the filter of the electronic expansion valve is jammed. You can turn on and off the indoor unit repeatedly and feel the action of the throttle part and refrigerant flow by hand. If it doesn't solve the malfunction, you need to replace the valve and clean the system. Third situation. If power failure happens to some indoor units in the same system. Malfunction analysis. The indoor units have no uniform power supply. The electronic expansion valve of power failure indoor units keeps certain opening degree, and much refrigerant go through the indoor evaporator. Condensing water will happen to the indoor units, and other indoor units' cooling performance will be bad. It is also possible that much liquid go back to the system and seriously affect the reliability of the compressor. So all the indoor units in the same system must have uniform power supply. After above repairing, if the action of the valve is still abnormal, change it. Reasons of system power switch jumps. Step 1. Check if input power supply is stable and the voltage drop is obvious while starting. If it is abnormal, it requires that stable power supply should be supplied. Step 2. Measure the machine current by clamp current meter to see if the machine current is more than maximum value of the air switch, and lead to jump of air switch. Step 3. Check if short circuit happens to the strong power circuit. You can judge roughly if fan motor, compressor, reactance, capacitor, or bridge rectifier has malfunctioned according to the jumping time. Then you can measure the resistance one by one to see if it open or infinite, and then you can replace the component with malfunction. How to change the refrigerant oil when changing the compressor. Step 1. Take out the defect compressor and pour out the compressor oil. Check the oil volume and quality. Normally, when compressor falls down to other side, the refrigerant oil flow out from the discharged pipe. If there is no oil flow out or only little oil, that means the compressor lacks of oil. Step 2. Check if the oil is black and carbonized, or there is any impurity such as copper powder and oxide in the oil. The normal refrigerant oil is clear and clean. It becomes a little yellow after machine has opened for a period, but it should remain clear. If the oil has been obviously carbonized, it is forbidden only changing the compressor. Check as below. Take out the oil of outdoor oil separator and low pressure accumulator tank and check if oil becomes black or has impurity like carbonization. Open the main suction pipe of outdoor unit and suction pipe of the compressor to see if there is obvious impurity on the filter. Step 3. If refrigerant oil deteriorate, change the oil as the following steps. Take out all the compressors from the outdoor unit with malfunction and discharge the oil. Check if the oil deteriorate has impurity. Please note that before discharge the oil, you should shake the compressor to make the impurity up. For oil separator and low pressure accumulator tank, the oil inside is very difficult to be discharged clearly because of the structure of oil separator and low pressure accumulator tank. To make sure that oil can be taken out clearly, you may use the pipe to suck the oil and clean it by high pressure nitrogen, or replace a new tank. Step 4. Choose the right model of the refrigerant oil and charge it. Refrigerant oil must be supplied directly by the factory. Any other oil which is named R410A refrigerant oil and bought from the market cannot be used. When recharging the oil, please charge the oil according to the new compressor required volume and pour the rest oil to the new low pressure tank. Reasons of outdoor units don't start after indoor unit has received on signal for a long time. Reasons of outdoor units don't start after indoor unit has received on signal for a long time. Indoor T1 reaches setting temperature. sensor T1 has deviation. Check the capacity requirement of outdoor unit after 3 minutes since start the indoor units. If it has no capacity requirement, please check if indoor units reach the setting temperature. Use temperature meter to measure if the setting temperature is closed to the indoor temperature. In cooling mode, when the indoor T1 ambient temperature is lower than setting temperature, and in heating mode, when the indoor T1 ambient temperature is higher than setting temperature, the capacity requirement of indoor unit is 0, and outdoor unit won't start. The VRF system judge whether it need to start according to the total capacity requirement. You can also query temperature sensor T1 from the indoor central controller to see if it reached setting temperature. Check if the temperature data that is collected by the sensor has deflection. If the sensor has malfunction, please replace it. After above repair, if all the problems are not exist, the indoor PC board should be broken. You can replace it. This is the whole introduction of troubleshooting and repair process of Midea V4 Plus VRF system. If you need more information or assistance, please contact us.